Hello and welcome to another video here at AV Forums. This time we're taking you through our recommended picture settings for the Panasonic TX-58DX902B Ultra HD 4K TV. Now, before we start, we should point out that these settings are for the TV that we were reviewing. They may not be appropriate for your TV, they may not make the picture better, in fact they could make it worse. So having got that warning out of the way, we'll go into the menu system, which you do by pressing the menu button on the remote control. Now we're going to be showing you settings for a day setting, a night setting and an HDR setting. So we'll start with the nighttime setting, and for that we're using viewing mode Professional 1. We set the backlight to 10, which is more than bright enough for watching TV in a dark room at night. You don't want to set it too bright, because if it's too bright when you're watching TV at night, it can become fatiguing for the eye. So a setting of 10 is bright enough. Contrast we've set to 90. At that point the image did not clip any higher than that, and it starts to clip. So set it to 90 for contrast, and then brightness at 0. That gives you a nice wide dynamic range for standard dynamic range content. This is what this setting is for. Color 50, tint 0, set the sharpness to 0 as well. Color temperature warm 2, which is the closest industry standard of D65. Vivid color off, color remaster off. Adaptive backlight control, we're using min setting, which is we found was more than sufficient for a really good picture for both the daytime and the nighttime setting. Gives you good blacks, nice bright highlights, nice dynamic range without introducing any haloing or other artifacts. So adaptive backlight control at min, that's what we set it for. Ambient sensor off, noise reduction off, MPEG remaster off, resolution remaster off. Intelligent frame creation, we've got it off, particularly for film-based content, although you might want to experiment with it when watching, say, sport, which is video-based. But for film-based content, we always recommend leaving intelligent frame creation off. Under advanced settings, we've got contrast control off, color gamut, Rec 709, which is the industry standard for standard dynamic range content, which is what this setting is for. Backlight, black level to dim, white balance. We found when we measured this that the TV, our review sample, had too much blue in the grayscale and not enough red, so you can see we've moved blue down by 4 and red up by 2, and that gave us a really accurate grayscale. All the errors were below 1, there wasn't any need to actually even use the 10-point control. Color management, these are the settings that we used for the primary colors, and these are the settings for the secondary colors. And again, as with the grayscale, once we calibrated, the color accuracy was excellent, with all the colors tracking their targets at 25, 50 and 75% saturation points of Rec 709. And we set the gamma to 2.4. Under option settings, if you're watching an interlaced video signal, then set film cadence mode to on, and always make sure that you have, where appropriate, the 16:9 overscan off. Okay, so that's the nighttime setting. Now we'll do a daytime setting, and for daytime we're using True Cinema. Backlight is now set to 30, because you can have it brighter because you're watching it during the day when there's more ambient light in the room, so we've set the picture brighter by using a backlight setting of 30. Still using contrast of 90 though, still using brightness of 0 and color of 50, tint 0 as well, sharpness 0, color temperature still warm 2, vivid color off, color remaster off, adaptive backlight control still min, ambient sensor off, noise reduction off, MPEG remaster off, resolution remaster off. Intelligent frame creation, again off for film-based content, but feel free to experiment with video-based content when you're watching sports, for example. Advanced settings, again contrast control off, color gamut still Rec 709, backlight level, black level dim. White balance, very similar to the nighttime setting, using +4 on red gain this time, and still -4 on blue gain, and again that gave us a very accurate grayscale. So the color management, these are settings we use for the primary colors, and these are the settings for the secondary colors. And then in this particular instance, for the daytime setting, we're using a gamma of 2.2. Again, if you want interlace signal, then turn the film cadence mode on and make sure that 69 overscan is turned off. Okay, so those are our settings for day and night. We're now going to send the TV an HDR signal, and we'll do the HDR setting, which is going to use Professional 1. Okay, so now we're sending an HDR signal, as you can see, and then we'll go back into the menu system. And this time, as I said, we're using Viewing Mode Professional 1. So what we're doing is using Viewing Mode Professional 2 for a SDR nighttime setting, True Cinema for an SDR daytime setting, and Professional 1 for the HDR setting. The reason we're doing this is so we can have 3 different calibrated settings, one for each type of content. So Pro 1, backlight and contrast would default to 100 when the TV receives an HDR signal. So use 100 for backlight and for contrast, brightness 0, color 50, tint 0, sharpness still 0, color temperature is still warm 2 for HDR content, vivid color off, color remaster off. Now for HDR, use backlight control of mid, ambient sensor off, resolution remaster off. Advanced settings, in here, contrast control off, select color gamut rec 2020, which is correct for HDR, backlight black level dim. In the white balance, we actually did calibrate the grayscale for HDR, and we used +4 in red gain and -4 in blue gain. And that's about it for an HDR setting. So those are settings for a nighttime setting, a daytime setting, and an HDR setting. And thanks for watching.